Hello students, this is Mrs. Miller, and the purpose of this video is to share my thinking with you as I read through The Biggest Gift. Now, before I read a passage for the I-STEP test, I like to look at the questions to see what task I'm going to have to complete, and this gives me a purpose for reading. Okay, so question number 1. How do the narrator's feelings for her brother Martin change from the beginning to the end of the story? So I know that I'm going to be needing to see how she feels about her brother at the beginning and how she feels about her brother at the end. Question number 2. One of the themes in The Biggest Gift is thoughtfulness. Explain how the narrator and her brother show thoughtfulness. So I'm going to be looking for that as I read. I want to see how the narrator and her brother both show that they are thoughtful. And number 3, how would the story be different if it were told from Martin's point of view? Okay, so Martin must be a character in the story. I'm going to read to see how it would be different, or think about how the story would be different if he had told the story. Here we go. "Martin!" I yelled from the snowy street as my brother loped down the block, trombone case thumping against his leg. "Could you please carry my violin home?" He turned to look at me, scrunching his glasses back with his nose. "I've got enough. Carry it yourself." He turned and galumped off without a backward glance. I was in a rotten mood, and Martin, as usual, was making it worse. So she was already, or the narrator's already in a bad mood, and her brother's making it worse. So I can assume that he's probably getting on her nerves. So I'm going to just jot that down in the side margin. Getting on her nerves. And the only reason I know that the narrator is a girl is because of this question here. It said, how did the narrator and her brother show thoughtfulness? Okay. For the 3rd time in a week, I'd botched my violin solo for the concert, throwing off the whole orchestra. If I didn't get it straight soon, Mr. Armstrong would give the part to someone else. Okay, well, I know how it feels to be in a rotten mood, so I have a text-to-self connection. I'm just going to put TS right there. And this reminds me of when something goes wrong for me here at school and I'm already in a bad mood, and then I go home and my husband might say something or do something, and it's just seems like it's making my mood worse. So that's something that I have a text-to-self connection with this. When I finally made it home, Mom was waiting to take us to the mall to finish our shopping. Martin had snarfed up the cookies I'd wanted, and then, in the garage, he pushed past me to claim the front seat. Oh, so here are things to show that he really is getting on her nerves. Okay, so she is really annoyed with him. He changed the radio station every 2 seconds and drummed his knuckles on the door. I slumped against the window in the back, wishing there was someone left on my shopping list besides him. It's because she's so irritated and annoyed with him. If I'm irritated with someone, I'm not really wanting to go and get them get them something from the store, but he's the only one left on her shopping list. We split up at the mall, Martin scuttling off to the hobby shop while Mom and I headed for the toy store. I wonder, what is Martin doing? What's he going to do at the hobby shop? And now I remember the question, if this were told from Martin's point of view, I would be able to know what he was going to do. But since it's not told from his point of view, I don't know. I don't know what to get Martin, I told her as we edged down one aisle. Well, it shouldn't be too hard, she said. She is Mom. She is referring to Mom. That's who the narrator is with. You know him better than anyone. Me? Mom, we don't have a thing in common. I finally settled on a chess set. He had one, but the black queen was missing, and he'd been using a plastic army guy. This new set was bigger, with polished wood pieces. I was pretty sure he'd like it. Oh, so this is one way right here that the narrator is showing that she is thoughtful. She thought about something he needed, a new chess set, and she got him one that was even bigger. On my way to the cash register, I noticed a slinky. I stared at it for a moment, then picked it up, slipping the chess set under my arm. The slinky was cool and crinkly. I balanced it on my palms, sniffing its gray perfume and listening to the coil's soft swish. Martin and I used to have a slinky when we were little. He'd kneel at the bottom of the stairs while the cat and I curled at he'd kneel at the top of the stairs while the cat and I curled at the bottom. Martin knew how to flip the coils to start the buzz, clink, buzz descent. Sometimes it would derail midway, and sometimes the cat would dart up and whack it. If it reached the bottom, Martin and I would cheer, fist in the air, like Olympic medalists. So here she is having a fond memory of her brother, of something she used to do with her brother. And I have another text-to-self connection. I remember when I used to play with a slinky when I was younger, and it was really neat to see it going down the stairs one step at a time. That was kind of neat to see. I put the slinky on top of the chess set and bought them both. I didn't really have a plan, but on the way home, I knew that I wanted to give the slinky to Martin. For some crazy reason, I wanted him to laugh and remember, and maybe even send it down the stairs for old time's sake. Okay, so this is another way that the narrator is being thoughtful. She got her brother this gift to help him have a good memory and so that he could have a nice laugh. Okay? When we got home, I stashed the chess set in my closet. I carried the slinky down the hall to Martin's door. It was shut and his no trespassing sign glared at me, but I tapped anyway. This is interesting word choice. It glared at her. That's personification, by the way. A sign can't really glare at you, but the sign is there and her brother has obviously told her that he doesn't want her in his room. Now, this is another thing. If this story were told from Martin's point of view, we would know why he has this sign here. So I'm just going to why the sign. I'm going to put a little note, why the sign. And if it were told from his point of view, we would know why the sign were there. The door cracked, opened a crack. What? I got you this. Why the attitude? That's something else I'm wondering. Why the attitude? If it were told from Martin's point of view, we would know why he said what like that. Would he think his sister was just annoying and getting on his nerves? We don't know because Martin didn't tell the story. I got you this. I held the slinky out, feeling foolish suddenly. See, she feels foolish because he just is like, what? You know, she's offering him this gift and he's acting like she's just getting on his nerves. A slinky? He eyeballed it as if it were an alien. What for? See, he's not being very considerate or thoughtful right here. Okay? My face felt hot and I shrugged. I don't know. He picked up the slinky and palmed it the way I had, fanning the coils. Remember? I asked. He nodded, scrunching his glasses back with his nose. Yeah, Snowball hated this thing. He smiled for a second, then handed the slinky back. Well, I gotta practice. I'm very curious as to know why didn't he accept the gift? Why didn't he take it? So I'm going to put that down. Why didn't he take the gift? If this story were told from Martin's point of view, we would know why he said he has to practice, and we would know why he didn't accept the slinky. I mean, he could have taken it into his room with him, but he didn't. He gave it back to her. Again, he's not being very thoughtful right here. His trombone was climbing the scales before I even shut the door. I dumped the slinky on my desk and sighed. Oh, I bet the narrator's thinking, like, what was the point in me even buying this for him? He didn't accept it. He's just acting the way that he acts. He's so annoying. That's probably what she's thinking. That's when I heard it. The same notes I just played were flowing slowly and steadily from Martin's trombone. And there we have it. Martin has learned her solo. So I'm going to just jot that note down. He learned her solo. And now we see that Martin is also being very thoughtful. That was a thoughtful thing for him to do. Okay. At the 10th measure, he stopped, paused, and started over. This time I followed along in my head, and the third time around I picked up my violin and played it with him. Not perfect, but better. Finally, I understood why I'd been messing up. I practiced the tricky part until my fingers knew it, and then I started from the top. This time, the trombone supplied the soft oomph accompaniment of the orchestra, and I leaned against the sound, enjoying the fiddle's melody for the first time. So not only did he learn her solo, he then played the accompanying part as she practiced her solo. Whoa, what an amazing gift. Okay, so He helps her. I'm just jotting that little note down to myself. He helps her. When we reached the inn, I loosened my bow and laid the violin in its case. In a few minutes, I heard Martin's radio and knew he'd started his homework. I fingered the slinky and hummed my solo and wondered how sometimes the smallest thing can be the biggest gift. Well, what's the small thing here that she is referring to? She's referring to how he learned her solo and how he helped her with the playing. He was in his room, she was in her room, but he was playing his trombone, and that allowed her to figure out what she did incorrectly with her solo.